Water rushing through the streets of Hildale, Utah. 2 vans full of women and children swept away.
Oh my goodness!
It's the most devastating tragedy this town has ever seen.
13 people lost their lives on a day that would go down in history as the deadliest weather day in Utah.
Good evening. Today marks the anniversary of that tragic day in southern Utah.
A lot has changed since then. Tonight, we have team coverage as the victims are remembered. News specialist Lad Egan is live in Hildale, Utah, with a look at what's been done since the flooding.
We'll go to Lad in just a moment, but first, news specialist Alex Cabrero is live in Colorado City. Alex?
Dave and Deanie, there will be plenty of tears out here tonight as folks right now are getting ready for a candlelight vigil set to begin in about an hour here at Cottonwood Park in Colorado City. It's a way to remember and honor the 12 people who died and the 1 child who is still missing. I spoke to the search and rescue commander earlier today who says that case is still open.
I remember getting that call from dispatch.
Calls for help come into the Washington County Search and Rescue Office every day. But the call from 1 year ago today was different.
Try and prepare for everything, and then every once in a while something like that comes up and you feel like you're woefully unprepared for it.
Daryl Cashin is the search and rescue commander for the Washington County Sheriff's Office. He will never forget that feeling. 16 people were all in that mud and water somewhere.
And you get focused on the job at hand, but you don't really realize the scope until you've had time to step back, until you're away from it for a while, and you look at it and go, you know, this is something that is so unusual that just shouldn't happen.
3 of them were saved, and the bodies of 12 women and children were found. But a 6-year-old boy is still missing.
I'm always hopeful, but I don't know that I'll ever close this case. We are at a loss of where to search, but we still keep trying.
Tonight, a vigil is planned to remember the victims from the Hildale, Utah and Colorado City, Arizona communities.
There's a lot of people that are just still so affected by a year ago today, the flood that happened.
Tyrell Musser helped organize the vigil. He thinks it's important to remember the victims. He also thinks the flood will be looked at as a turning point for this community.
A lot of people during the flood event interacted with the outside world for the first time in their entire lives.
That gets into the religion and sort of secrecy surrounding these 2 communities. But tonight, religion and politics don't matter.
Honestly, it's about who lost their lives.
Again, a vigil and memorial is set to begin here in about an hour. We will be here as well, and we'll show you how the community reacts to it all coming up tonight in our 10 o'clock newscast. David Deanie.
Alex Cabrero live for us over in Colorado City, Arizona. In the years since the flooding, emergency funding from Utah has been used to improve bridges and other pieces of infrastructure to try and lessen the damage from flash flooding.
News specialist Lad Egan continues our team coverage from Hildale with a look at 2 of the major construction projects. Lad?
This is the very spot where those 2 vehicles were swept away. And as you can see behind me here, evidence of the flash flooding still very fresh. The water carved away the dirt there, exposing the pipes. But if we take a walk upstream, you can see where improvements have been made, starting with this brand new bridge.
And it's not until a major flood event like what happened last year where the issue and the problem is seriously highlighted.
Last year's devastating flooding in the polygamous town of Hildale put a spotlight on the lack of modern flood control measures and adequate bridges over Short Creek.
It was well overdue.
Project manager Tyler Young with Sunrise Engineering says this new 100-foot bridge sits where tragedy struck last year, where stormwater once flowed freely over the roadway.
You know, it's dropping a huge channel of water, a huge canyon worth of water down into a little tiny area.
It was very intense, the rain.
Lifelong resident George Jessup remembers the horrific day.
But we've never seen water like that come down this canyon.
Water held back in the canyon above created a surge of debris and muddy water, strong enough to sweep away a van and SUV carrying 3 women and 13 children.
We created a huge swell and it came up from behind and picked them up and pushed them into this river.
Jessup is relieved to have the new bridge in place, as well as this new drainage channel on Willow Street designed to lessen the danger and keep raging floodwaters well away from people.
The safety that I feel is that other people are safe. We're not going to hear about or get a phone call that someone's in trouble.
I've heard several people say, you know, that I can sleep when it rains now.
And while the construction crews were building a physical bridge for safety, their presence also built emotional bridges into the isolated community.
it was awesome to be out there and be a part of it. We were embraced by the city. We had people bringing us cookies and different treats while we were out there.
Both of these projects just finished, paid for with $1.5 million in emergency funding. And these projects designed for a maximum flood event, a once in 100-year event. And Dave, more money is on the way to Hildale. Is going to be used to build some detention ponds to protect the city. And definitely in talking with residents, seeing these projects go into place as part of the healing process from that devastation 1 year ago.
Lad Egan live for us in Hildale tonight. Much more on this story later in the hour. Lad, we'll see you in just a bit. That same day, 7 experienced hikers were also killed when a flash flood roared through Keyhole Canyon where they were hiking. The group came to Zion from California and Nevada and were described as experienced hikers. Searchers spent 3 days looking for and eventually recovering the bodies.